And we're back for our next episode of For the Lads with my good friend here, Luke Kumo. I really appreciate you taking your time, brother.
Yeah, James. My pleasure, James.
Um, it's
Honor and a pleasure. You know, in the martial arts, we have this philosophy that everybody gets respect, and in a fight, you could think of it as you don't want to overlook your opponent. You get too cocky or whatever, and they could get you, like Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman.
yeah,
But in they say martial arts is a way of life, not just a way of fighting, but a way to approach life. And we're we're equals. I respect you, you respect me, and there's that honor between us.
thanks,
I'm
brother.
honored, and I always try to keep this in mind, like when I meet anybody, just to have that, like I'm talking to, in America we call it great spirit,
Mm,
or a legendary warrior in the flesh.
thanks, brother. Well, I'm looking at
Yes,
one
you.
right now. There's plenty of proof out there right on YouTube, and
Right.
we really appreciate you taking the time. Uh, so I
Yeah,
thought I'd
it is what's the word? People think that fighters are like special, which you can get good at anything if you dedicate yourself to scholastics. Anybody who's watching who's a student, anybody who's a family man, dedicate yourself to providing for your family. Nobody's better than anybody else, and because this is a martial arts show, I will take a little bit of the initiative and, accept that you're putting me in a position of, expertise or authority, whatever. But I just want everybody to know today's Father's Day. All you fathers out there, you are the best. Today's your day. And if you're not with your baby mama, or you don't have a baby mama, you still have a child inside yourself. That's what we teach in the Native American medicine traditions, that everybody is a child of Great Spirit or themselves. So I just want to extend that honor to you guys in the studio there, and to everybody watching, all the lads, all
oh
the dads,
yeah,
all the babes,
yeah.
and all of creation.
I
How's
definitely
that?
feel you. I think especially today's age, men's mental health and all that doesn't it gets overlooked, and it's the the dad, the father of the house, the figure. He's the figurehead of the house, and it's a very important position. Um, you've
Amen.
got a lead, and you've also, if you have a family, you're there to set the example. Like women bring something special themselves, like they have that passion, the fire, the nurturing, and with that fire, or with the with the women's emotion, it can come and go, like hurricanes one moment, sunny the next. But you're the mountain; you're always unmovable. You know,
Nice.
dad's there, or the husband's there when he's needed. So that's a good point,
Right.
Luke. I really appreciate you bringing it up. But well,
Yeah, and we should have a father figure like that, not above or below, but since this is a martial arts show, I think we should have somebody who protects, who's in a position of authority, not somebody like Dana White
mm,
who's taking advantage. He's not protecting people.
yeah,
He's actually putting them in harm's way, but he might not even be in charge anymore.
I don't
He's
think
taking
he is.
orders from
I don't think he is. I
from
think
uh,
that slap fight
an
is.
accountant, maybe.
I think that slap that slap fight is proof in the pudding. You know what I mean? That he isn't running the show. I mean, obviously, he still has a lot of power. But yeah, he has people like overlords now. You know what I mean? I think with the Fatitas, they just
Right.
respected what he thought was best and just let him run it. And obviously still has like probably a major hand, but that slap fighting, I think that's the big one for me. That they're
Yeah.
like, hey, you're gonna promote this now, because like I said last time, I can't imagine him a few years ago promoting that. Yeah, but we went over that
Right.
last time, so
Being like a boxing guy, it doesn't make sense. But because it's a science. Boxing is a science, and we know about that slap fighting. But I don't want to rag on any one person, just as an idea, as a concept, because you're into the traditional martial arts somewhat through the classic movies and stuff.
and Bruce Lee.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, Bruce Lee, he was a master, and he had a teacher, and his teacher had a teacher,
Mm,
and it was, if you keep going back and back, you end up at the temple
mm,
where the head monk was the teacher, and they were teaching this art for to protect the temple,
mm,
and you could even say to protect your temple,
mm.
your body. So, I'm always gonna keep plugging my League of Champions because I just think it's the next step where you had no rules in the beginning. You had Joe San getting punched in the groin. You had
Yeah, I remember that.
headbutts, right?
Yeah.
And what did they do? They made people wear gloves. They instituted rules and regulations. And you even have people that are saying, oh, I'm too dangerous for the UFC because they do real fighting. And
Mm.
that could be true. You got to deal with weapons. Being in
I've had
the nightlife,
I've had plenty of
right?
knives pulled on me. Um,
Mm,
yeah, all
protect
sorts
this
of
man.
things. It's super dangerous, but yeah, I mean, obviously, like lucky for me, most people can't fight. But I especially notice it like in the last 12 months. Just fucking, I just see knives and that all the time. I nearly got I nearly got stabbed actually not too long ago, but he just missed me and got me on the wrist. But it was
Holy.
close, man.
And what's the deal with that? The doorman's not frisking him, or
Well,
this is
no,
outside?
I mean, I mean, I don't know if my boss would be too happy me talking about it, but I guess we're gonna jump
Okay, you
in.
don't have to.
Well, I'll speak on it a little bit. So, it was when I got to work. I was told there was an issue at the front. So as I've come out the front, he's like,
Oh,
"Hey, this guy's already threatened to stick me." Blah blah blah. So I've walked over and said, "Hey, time to go." And he's like, "I don't have to fucking go nowhere." And I said, "Yeah, you do, mate. This is licensed. It's not a request. You're leaving." And he goes, "Oh, fucking settle down, mate. What are you gonna do?" And I said, "I'll drop you." And he goes, as he laughed and like reached to
oh,
his waist. And I've had knives
wow.
pulled on me before, and I didn't want it
Okay.
facing me, so I've shot in to basically do a double leg. But he slashed me before I like got a good hold of him, so I've shot in, and like, I knew he got me because I'm like, this can't, because it felt like someone flicked water basically on my wrist, and like my head
Wow.
now as I'm shooting in, my my head's near where his hand is with the knife, so I've pulled back because I don't want him to
Oh,
stick me in the neck, and then the
oh.
guards grabbed him up higher, and then I've shot back in and we've taken him down, but he got done with that. He had a box cutter on him, and then he had an 8 ball in his shoe, so he's still be in jail at the moment.
Oh my God. Oh, 8 ball is what? Cocaine.
Yeah, I just know he had an 8 ball because he was going to. He had some boys there, and he was like, "Get the 8 ball. It's in my shoe." And I was like, "Wait, fuck off, dude. You're on camera. Like, if you touch him, you'll be implicated." So
Wow.
I mean, yeah, probably coke, but it could be lots of things. But
Oh,
yeah,
I
and
see.
then I saw in the post about like it just had a rough gist of what happened, and then it bloody it just said done with illegal drugs, blah blah blah. So it must have been that. I mean, that's what he was saying. So,
Wow.
but yeah, and
Protect this man.
that The short end of it is there's plenty of idiots out there, unfortunately.
Yeah, to have a box cutter, that was definitely premeditated. But I guess when you're dealing with illicit substances like that, you never know.
Yeah. I mean, the knife he
You
pulled
know?
out was a fishing knife. It would have been about yay long
Oh my
with the
God.
handle, a yellow handle on it, and a decent blade. And
Wow.
then yeah, he was like, had a box cutter on him as well, and he was like, oh, oh, my arm, because he was trying to fucking play victim. This is another thing that I hate.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
bruh. People do stupid shit, and then they're like, want to play a victim, but he's smart because he's trying to get us to loosen him off so he can grab the box cutter. But we put him in a different position, and the guard just had a hold of his wrist. But that's what in hindsight, that's what I reckon he's trying to do. He's trying to get us
Mm.
to relax on him so he can try and grab that.
Mm. Whew.
Have you ever had any situations where someone's pulled a knife on you or anything like that?
I was about to say, I'm actually thankful that since high school, I've never been involved in a real fight outside of the cage.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
that's good.
because it was train hard, eat right,
Yeah.
get enough rest, and a little bit of gaming to
Yeah.
to shoot off some steam or whatever. But I never really got into the whole like nightlife scene. But I did. I tell you, after one of my fights, I think it was. I'm gonna say maybe the finale versus Steele Stevenson. The after party, one of the after parties. It might have been another fight, but I know the after party was in the Palms,
Mm.
which is one of the newer hotels. Probably like this is 10 years ago now, so actually it's not that new. But it was in the Palms, and I believe it was the Playboy Suite. They had like a special room,
Mm.
and it had like a balcony, blah blah blah. And I remember it because Nate Diaz was there, and I think he said something to me about Joe Rogan blew up my spot about the urine therapy, so he had to. Nate Diaz said something about that, and then I thought he was like wanted to learn, so I kind of went into some of the details of my practices and stuff like that. And then I see like the couple of days later on the internet forums. They don't really use forums anymore. It's, like I said 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a post by a guy named Nate, but it was just like a regular profile. It wasn't like a verified or whatever.
Mm.
But it said Nate, and then it had details of what I had told him. Like I was like, this guy is
It's the same guy.
posting online. Nate, I'm like Nate Diaz. He's trolling me.
Mm.
But that night, the reason why I bring it up, that night is the last time I really got hammered. I had Red Bull and vodkas
Oh, yeah.
because like I don't drink a lot, so I was looking for something a little fruity.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that you're really only supposed to have like one or two
Mm.
because of the Red Bull.
Mm.
And I drank like six of them. I was up for days. It was almost turned into Rampage remember Rampage with the energy drinks?
Yeah, yeah.
You went on a bender and ended up going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
they give me heart palpitations if I drink a lot of them, but yeah.
mhm.
But honestly,
Yeah. So my thing was, if I could say that I had a vice, it would be that I used marijuana
mm,
for. I guess the if I think about it, it'd probably be the endorphins
yeah,
that I'm trying to mimic through the hard training.
yeah,
From like trying to get those endorphin that I would normally get from the hard training. Because you talk to some of these fighters like after they retire and stuff, and they're like, there's nothing that will make you feel like that is such an extreme experience.
mm,
Like when you're kind of getting used to it probably, but like that adrenaline rush when you're in an altercation is like there's nothing else really that gets you to that point
Yeah.
that I know.
No, I feel you. Obviously, any of my altercations haven't been like fighting a UFC fight. I could only imagine. And you're on TV. I could only imagine what that'd be like. Um,
It's probably the same, to be honest, as far as the adrenaline and stuff like that. The only thing probably is not the same is that the time,
mm,
because you would know better than me. But from what I heard, most of the real fights are short.
mm. Well, because I work so much, I only really get to watch the main and co-main, because by the time I get, by the time we get home, not long after the undercard starts and that, and like, then it
Mhm.
finishes at like 3 p.m. So, and I've got to get some sleep, right?
Wow.
So, like in some ways, even though I've been a big fan for a long time, I would like if someone was to call me a casual now, I wouldn't argue it, because I don't get to watch all the undercard fights and all that. It's
Yeah.
just life, you know what I mean? Life gets in the way. I mean, if I lived a
Thanks.
more normal life, worked more normal hours, I would definitely watch the entire card. But I have responsibilities, I guess,
Yeah. And sleep, number one.
That's it, man.
I
Um,
didn't really watch them either, bro. I think I might have caught the first prelim, and then I had stuff to do. I tried to get a gist of what happened for the videos today,
yeah,
and that's about it. It wasn't too many highlights. I think most of the fights went to decision.
yeah,
So when I go to Reddit, I'm going to Reddit to look at like the finish, so I could kind of maybe piece something out of it for a workout. But on Reddit, well, as soon as you click on it, you see the two guys standing there waiting for the decision. I'm like, oh shit, I'm not even gonna be able to see any of the highlights. But I got a couple ideas, and based on your questions,
mm,
I put together a few videos.
yeah. Which I've
So
watched. They're very informative, and for anyone watching, make sure you stay to the end and watch the videos. They're yeah, you won't be disappointed. And also, if you're ever looking for training, the gentleman sitting virtually across from me, he's the man to speak to about it. So
yeah, I try to keep it basic. You know, if you look at all sports, really, even the best guys, they occasionally have something flashy, but it's really the basics at a high level, like flawless basics.
mm,
And there's a reason for that, and it's because they work. And if you don't do them right, you really, it's like having building a house without a foundation. So
yeah,
I think I think I could help people, whether they're skill building, preparing for a fight, or just wanting to do a different type of workout. So yeah, anybody who's watching, have questions or you know opinions, or you just want a little info, just feel free to connect with me. All my info's on my website, masterlukey.com. So
yeah. And I can personally say that he is a very personable person, and he's very liberal with his time, and he's a good man. So don't be shy to reach
thank you.
out. You know.
Definitely, definitely.
Um, so
More the merrier.
speaking of the fights,
Mhm.
Usman obviously got the W. Uh,
Mm.
did you get to watch any of that fight?
I didn't. I tried to gather what had happened from the comments of the Reddit, and it seems like a typical dominant Usman performance where he was able to survive or compete on the feet and out wrestle. I saw Joaquin Buckley was complaining. He said, "Oh, what did he say? Usman was trying to hold me instead of hurt me," which is typical, salty
Yeah.
strikers. I mean, I've been out wrestled before,
Mm.
and it is frustrating because it's like, oh, why won't the guy give me a chance to win? You know,
Yeah.
but you got to accept that if you just want to strike, just do another sport. That's wrestling is a big part of it.
Yeah. Um.
But I guess people don't think it's as exciting because the guy's
I, I
laying on him.
I think
But
as far as wrestlers or grapplers in general, you can have an exciting wrestling or grappling style, and you could have a boring one. Just like with striking, you can have boring
mm,
strikers. I mean,
mm,
I mean, not to pick on Izzy because he's a great striker and he's had some very fantastic fights and fantastic finishes. But we'll just use him or even Anderson. Like, and they're two of the best. But they've even had fights where people were less than happy with maybe how the fight went and kind of found it was boring. So I guess you could say even
that's
even with the striker, you can have people going, oh, he's point fighting or he's not trying to get the finish, or it's the same with the grappling. You get people that are pushing the transitions, constantly working to get superior position to finish the person, pound, like doing, Tito Ortiz, heavy ground and pound. And then you get
mm,
certain guys that are maybe just trying to stall position and gain a victory that way. So it could
mhm.
be any area, even if you want to say even standing, clinching against the fence, stalling there. Like you can stall in any sort of facet, and it being a
Right.
boring fight, like not just grappling. Would you agree?
So what did you think? Was it a good fight?
I only basically got to see highlights. I basically heard the same as what you did.
Yeah.
That Usman managed to pull out the victory, but it looked like his best days had passed. Um,
Yeah, I heard he's got some knee issues.
yeah, yeah, I've heard the same. So, speaking of Usman, where would you rank Usman in the all-time welterweights?
See, here's the thing. I'll rank him welterweights, huh? I'll rank him up there. But here's the thing. Everybody's the GOAT.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time, the greatest. It's like, dude, the UFC is only, what is it, 30 years old? Stop saying everybody's the greatest of all time.
yeah, that's a
You
very good
go,
point.
you go to Thailand. Go to Thailand. These guys have 200 fights.
Yeah,
Usman's the greatest of all time. How many fights did he have? 30?
I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head.
It's like but it's marketing.
Yeah,
If somebody's the greatest of all time, you're gonna want to see them fight.
that's so
Every
true
event
though.
is
You get guys, they get two title defenses now, and he's like, "Oh, he's the goat," and I'm just like, just relax. But I would
yeah.
think, as
I
far
saw.
as, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say Kale. I saw Kale's. I think it was no, not Kale Sonnen. It was Tim. Tim. Forgot that he fought. He had a fight with Yoel Romero where Yoel Romero got like extra time. Tim fucking what's his name? He's like a military guy.
Uh,
You
um,
know,
Tim Kennedy.
Tim Kennedy. He goes. Somebody asked him, "Who's the greatest fighter?" He goes, "Without a doubt, Jon Jones." He goes, "Not only is Jon Jones the greatest UFC fighter, he's the greatest hand-to-hand combat fighter of all time, going back in all history." He goes, "You take somebody from ancient Rome." He's like, I'm like, wow, they must be paying this guy to say that to build up the fight.
Yeah.
But Usman, Matt Hughes, GSP, Mark Coleman, Mark Kerr. Let's see who else. It's what they call a meta in the video games.
But
A
what
meta
about
is like the way
specifically for
that.
welterweight? Because, like you said, Matt Hughes, GSP, Usman, and Woodley, like that'd be the
Mm,
four guys that I would say, like
okay.
um if you're gonna argue, it'd
Okay.
have to be one of them guys. For me personally, I'd
Okay.
put GSP as number one. And
Mm,
if you were to have a fight, GSP versus Usman, like just hypothetically, prime for prime, how would you see
mm,
that fight playing out? Because I'll say, just before we get into it, I think that if you were to take Usman GSP and it just be purely boxing with boxing gloves on, I think Usman wins. I think if you were to have them just wrestle, no striking, just a pure wrestling match, I think Usman wins. I think in MMA,
Wow.
GSP wins, and I think it's because he's more dynamic. He's more elusive, and I think he would take Usman down. I think he would
Mm.
set him up with a jab. I think he would, like we were talking before about it, he'd be working off the jab, working off the feints, and then getting him to react, and then shooting him, getting him down to the ground. That's how I would see it going.
Nice.
What about yourself?
Yes. Strategically, huh? I think I do also think GSP would win for a different reason. I'll tell you why. Now the other thing is, out of 100 fights, he's not winning all of them. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe, maybe 51. But Usman is really good, and they both kind of like maxed out their strategy statistics.
mm.
Like you can't get better wrestlers. You just can't get a better wrestler. They Now if you get two guys who are equal, like from 1 to 100, if they both have 100 wrestling, one guy's going to take the other guy down, or
Yeah,
they're going to stalemate. So, as far as wrestling goes, I would put them both at 100. I would put their striking both at 100. Usman, I really like his front kicks. I don't know if he was doing them last night, but I think that's such an underutilized technique in MMA,
yeah,
especially for grapplers, because they don't have to worry about their leg getting caught and getting taken down or tripping because
yeah,
they want to get to the mat anyway.
yeah,
GSP's got the roundhouse kicks from karate, and they both have good boxing. But the reason why I would put GSP in a fight, winning in a fight, is because he trains with Gordon Ryan and John Danaher,
yeah,
and I think his jiu-jitsu would be the difference in that match.
yeah,
I think he would catch Usman in something, maybe a rear naked choke after a brutal beatdown or something. Because who's that? Leon Edwards. He even took Usman down.
yeah, yeah. With the
So
trip.
he's not flawless,
Yeah,
and GSP is not flawless either. I mean, he got outstruck by Matt Serra,
yeah,
but I would put GSP like maybe 50, somewhere between 50 and 60 times out of 100 he
so
beats Usman, maybe a little more, just based on the jiu-jitsu alone. And that could be a little bit of bias because I'm kind
yeah,
of a jiu-jitsu guy,
yeah,
and so I always root against the wrestlers because
yeah,
um, the wrestlers always were the ones who kicked my ass,
yeah.
basically. So I want them all to get submitted and stuff.
Yeah, I think that he would work off the jab, fluster him, use his timing, wait for Usman to, attack, or like go to counter and then duck underneath and get the double, and then probably put him on his back and then pound him out for decision. That's how I would see. I think Woodley would be a more dangerous fight, personally. I
Mm.
would put Usman above Woodley all time for the division, but I think just style for style, I think Woodley would be a more dangerous fight.
For GSP.
Yeah, I still think GSP would win, but like Woodley has he's very explosive and he's got a big shot. So I mean, I'm not just saying he just has a puncher's chance. I just think that it'd be quite a dangerous fight. Um,
Yeah. No, I think you're right. But I, I can't root for Woodley anymore, bro. After the Jake Paul debacle,
yeah,
I
I
just I
yeah,
lost everything.
I don't
Not that I
like
was ever a huge fan,
no either.
but I think
Yeah,
the fight was rigged. I think he took a dive, and it's a bad look
yeah.
for martial artists, like we were saying before. Where's the honor? I mean, you just do anything for a paycheck.
I've never liked Woodley. Yeah, I think he has a bad attitude, but he's a great fighter, and he got paid, so best of luck to him. But yeah,
Yeah, that's easy for me
but
to say, right? Yeah, I probably would have taken him too, maybe.
so
I I did turn down 40K from Xyience. I don't know if you remember Xyience back in the day.
yeah, definitely.
They wanted to pay me after I just got off the show. There was a shopping mall. You guys got shopping
Yeah,
malls?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because like a lot of them nowadays, they're like empty. I've seen like these videos, old people for their exercise, they're just walking laps around inside the shopping mall because it's air conditioned. But this shopping mall, not by me, Nassau County on Long Island in New York, at one time was the biggest mall in America. Now it's like not even top five, but there was a GNC there, and they had Rich Franklin, Matt Hughes, Matt Serra,
Mm,
who kind of hooked the whole thing, who got me into the whole thing. And Matt Serra did end up signing with Xyience,
mm,
but they were going to give me 40K a year to wear the clothes, promote. This is before social media, I think, pretty much
mm.
2006. But I would have had to like go like what Rich Franklin and Matt Hughes are doing, go to different ZNCs all over to have these, signings and whatnot. I freaking turned that down, James. I don't know if I had a second chance if I would do it again, but I thought to myself like, here I am being known for being like a picky eater, being
Mm.
health conscious, and then I'm gonna sign with this company selling these energy drinks and these supplements that I wouldn't use, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna recommend it to my fans. I'm like, what if they're kids?
yeah,
They're looking up to me because I'm not like tooting my own horn, but kids look up to athletes,
definitely.
you know,
And you just
and they buy Gatorade and Nike and all this stuff.
you just felt like you wouldn't be being congruent in like who you are as a person.
Yeah, I go look. Every man has his price.
Yeah.
Just I guess 40K wasn't enough
It
for my
wasn't.
soul.
I always joke around with the lads. I say we're all whores. You just got to figure out what your price is.
Nice.
But jokes aside, yeah. I mean, like, well, that's very honourable of you. Because it's a lot of money to turn away. But yeah,
Yeah, the wife liked that one. Yeah.
yeah. I'm sure she did. um.
I don't remember what happened with that, but
Yeah.
it's uh it's uh it's a business now where it was way different back then because like now these guys they can't even have sponsors
Mm.
unless it's like
Yeah. I know.
part of the deal.
That fucking shorts thing, like that still bothers me, eh? And I like not only because the athletes can get their own promotion on their shorts, but it's like they have character as well. Like Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz's shorts, they're iconic.
Yeah.
Now they're all just the same fucking thing. Like, yeah, I don't like that, and it really did bother me. I remember a lot of fighters like saying, that they were making substantially more out of their deals with their shorts than they were getting paid,
Yeah.
from the fights. And
Right.
now that they're just getting yanked. And it's just like, that's not cool, Like, I mean, I don't want to say they were exploiting the fighters, but I mean, in some respects, and then like
Yep.
you're gonna take that away from them. Like you already have control over the whole. So I mean, obviously through the revenue pay per view and etc. You're paying the fighters, but like let's not get it twisted. They're making the lion's share, and then you're gonna take that as well. Like it's just nickel and diming. Like I that really bothered me. That did when they did that.
Yeah, it kind of exposed the whole thing. I mean, they were complaining about the pay was
Yeah,
like two. I think the base pay was 2 and 2, two to show, two to win, just to get in. Like
yeah,
before the contender series, people complain about that, but then they're like, "Oh well, you're getting an opportunity that you otherwise wouldn't."
mm,
And it was just a one fight deal, so just suck it up just to get your foot in the door.
mm,
But then now with the shorts and the whole sponsorship package, people are seeing how really one sided these contracts are.
yeah. And to say like,
I
oh,
turned down
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say I turned down a contract about a month ago or 2 months ago with the UFC Gym, which is a separate corporation,
Yeah,
but it's a gym, and this particular one. used to be a supermarket. It's freaking huge. They have a full size octagon, and just it's the best gym that I've ever been to, like for MMA,
Mm.
as far as the facilities go. And one of my old training partners, one of my old sparring partners, is the MMA manager there,
Mm.
and he told me he could get me a job there. So I was like, all right, I'm looking for a new, um, I'm looking for a new job, and it's a great gym. It's right next to my parents' house. Then I get the contract and I go to look it over, and dude, it was just completely one-sided. They own all the likeness, right? They own my name, my image. They could do everything. Minimum wage.
Mm.
And I still was ready to sign it, James. I still was going to sign it when they would own my image, plus give me only minimum wage. And it was like I was starting at the bottom again. I was still going to sign that until I got to the third part, which was where they were going to own my intellectual property.
Yeah.
And that's where I drew the line, because these guys, like I was saying about Dana White, same thing with the UFC gym. You got these guys who are higher ups. They're
Yeah.
not one of us.
No.
They're just
They're just suits.
handling the money or the paperwork and stuff. I'm like,
But
there's no way I'm going to spend 30 years of my life,
yeah.
blood, sweat, and tears to develop something so precious to me that I think could really save me
Yeah.
and save other people too. And I just couldn't risk it.
When you say
But it just reminded me about these one-sided contracts, because it's like slave labor,
yeah.
really. I mean, especially when you look at what happens to these guys in the fight, it's not even worth it.
But what do you mean exactly by own your intellectual property? Like
So, so I'll give you kind of the backstory. I was helping Al Iaquinta spar. I was sparring with Al Iaquinta to get ready for his finale.
mm,
He fought Michael Chiesa, right? I felt bad because he ended up losing, and I was like, damn, maybe I jinxed him. But this was after my last fight with the UFC. I didn't know it was my last fight at the time,
yeah.
because I didn't say, like, my last four fights, after Jonathan Goulet elbowed my head against the cage and my eyesight went out. I was in the taxi to the hospital after. I was sitting with my girlfriend at the time and my coach, not Matt or Ray, another coach, Eric Mancini, and I was like crying from the concussion. I'm like, I can't fight anymore. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But I fought four more times after that for the money, and each time it was getting harder and harder for me to like get up for the fight, because I knew what was going potentially could happen in there.
Yeah.
So, um,
And that can happen to a lot of people when they get concussed. They get emotional.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely one of the symptoms. Um, Now hold on, that was a little sidetrack, but you asked me a question and I forgot what it was.
About the intellectual property.
Oh yeah, so and I also had kids at the time, so like I was taking care of my sons during the day, and then like trying to get up for the training. But anyway, so I'm sparring with Al, and I start getting these headaches, and I also was sparring after I left Longos. I took 4 months. I went to California for 4 months to study with a brain specialist
Mm.
who taught me a nutritional protocol to speed up my healing. And when I came back, I went back. I didn't go back to Longo's. I went back to my parents' house, and I went to the gym owned by Joe Scarola, another
Mm.
Matt Serra student. And I was sparring with one of his guys. The dude was like 130 pounds soaking wet, but just the repetitive subconcussive impact was giving me headaches for like 3, 4 days.
Shit.
Then I had a friend or a fan, ended up becoming a friend in Canada. Shout out to Wally Kokowski. He told me that the research was coming out from hockey He's from Canada.
Mm.
He goes, yeah, they don't even have head contact, but they get concussions from the whiplash.
Mm.
And that's when they figured out that headgear doesn't help
No,
because the brain hits the inside of the skull.
that's right. It's more
So I'm
just for
like, oh
cuts.
shit. I was I was um I was already formulating a style that I could teach, and I was experimenting with ideas of animals. I eventually settled on these mythical beasts, but I was like, I had a horse, I had a shark, and all these different animals had like these techniques, and I was calling it the League of Assassins,
Mm.
which was the in the comic books the ninja society or cult, whatever that Batman was trained in.
Mm. Oh, your
Remember,
League of Assassins. I know what
I
you
think in
with
the
Bat.
comic book it was League of Assassins. In the
Yeah.
movie they call it the League of Shadows,
Okay.
something like that.
Yeah. My memory ain't the
Then
best either.
I was dating a karate instructor from out here, and she told me, no parent's going to put their kid in the League of Assassins. So it ended up becoming the League of Champions.
Yeah.
I had to take out head contact, and I started to figure out a way to keep track of points.
Mm.
So rather than trying to knock each other out, trying to finish each other, you're trying to score points. And since 2000, and I would say 14, when I came back from my medicine training to heal my brain, I've been training and practicing and documenting and formulating this new regulatory system.
Mm.
Like I was saying, with the headbutts, the groin strikes, now they got to wear gloves. These are all steps towards, away from mayhem and no rules towards rules.
Yeah.
So what I have, because I'm an ex-fighter and I've been coaching since the year 2001.
Yeah.
So I have a level of experience, or a kind of experience, that Dana White doesn't have, Ray Longo doesn't have, the guy who runs ONE FC doesn't have, Trevor Whitten doesn't have, Matt Hughes doesn't have, GSP doesn't have. I have the trifecta, which is the fighting, the coaching, and now the promoting.
Mm.
So nobody else is thinking of it from all these levels, where you have to have a promotion, but you also have to have uh, a job for a fighter.
Mm.
So now in MMA, you could win a match and still have to go to the hospital and have a 3 to 6 month, period where you can't even fight.
Yeah. Can't make any money.
So look at WWE. You're looking at Roman Reigns or whoever, John Cena, whoever's the main guy now. Every week he's in your face.
Yeah.
And that's how they build these stars. That's why UFC is trying to be like WWE, because they see how profitable,
Mm.
the model is, where you got guys like Conor McGregor talking trash
Mm.
to build up the fight. That's all from pro wrestling promoting.
Definitely.
They
Yeah.
used to go from town to town. If you know the history, they used to go from city to city and challenge the big guy in the town.
Mm.
Have this worked match or whatever. And so, yeah, it's just too much that I gave and sacrificed. I've been homeless, James. I am broke, been homeless. Luckily, my dad puts me up in his building here. And I couldn't risk that me training out of this UFC gym would ultimately, even potentially, lead to me losing this opportunity that I still think I have.
Mm.
Because it's like I said, it's just a progression that has been going on,
Mm.
and the fighters are getting so good. They're so powerful. I
Yeah.
really think, and I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to like call this into existence, but I really think we have not seen the worst injuries that are possible
definitely not.
You know,
Well, we know what
in
the worst
UFC,
ones
right?
are. It's
Hmm?
you ain't coming out of the ring. That's the worst ones. I mean, we've seen it in
What's coming?
boxing. I mean, you pass
Oh
away.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we've seen it in boxing. You know, even when I like, obviously you would have had to have done something similar. But even when I fought amateur, you had to basically sign your life away. You know that you understand you could
Mm.
die. Blah blah blah. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it is a very dangerous sport. That's for sure. I mean, you're trying to inflict pain on another human being.
Yeah. People have told me even though I've made it as safe as possible, it still has that core energy which comes from the battlefield.
Yeah,
So, you know, it's like a transition. To me, it's a transition where somebody who uh, who comes to me and they want to like eat healthier or lose weight or something, and they're just on a typical diet.
yeah,
I won't go like 100% healthy at first. Transition them,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
something that's like comparable to what they're doing.
yeah.
And so we're gonna see coming up some Master Lukey events next. Not the day after tomorrow, but the week after.
Yeah.
I'm going to a place owned by one of Chris Weidman's sparring partners. His name is Derek Manji. He's
Oh,
a
nice.
black belt, a Golden Gloves champion, a wrestling stud, and basically he's going to be the first place where I'm going to visit once a month and build a list of or build a card
Hmm.
of fighters. So
That's
he's letting me
awesome.
go there for the day and kind of like guest teach,
Yeah.
and I'm basically going to use the class as a way to teach not I'm going to train. We're all going to train, but
Yeah.
also in a way where the people learn
Yeah.
about this new scoring system where it's really more of a sport because look at what is it? Any other sport, they got a weekly game.
Hmm.
And if you have a sparring day at an MMA gym, that's
Hmm.
usually once a week,
Hmm.
right? So this is just a way to take that
Hmm.
and
Monetize it.
public
Yeah.
yeah, monetize, publicize,
Yeah.
you know, make it real, make it something that people can participate in and not have to worry, are they going to be able to feed their family, are they going to, you know, be permanently injured
Yeah.
type of thing.
Get rid of the concussive impact.
Yep. And
Yeah.
these guys that are telling Dana White what to do, they're not even in the martial arts.
Hmm.
They're just looking at that bottom line of that sheet where it says profit,
Yeah.
and they don't look above that where it has all the injuries and all the people who
Yeah. I think
had to
if I
sacrifice.
remember correctly, I could be mistaken on this, so don't hold me to it. But you remember that? Oh, fuck, I'm forgetting the name of it. There was that TV show, and like it was centered around one guy that was a movie star, and he'd have his group of guys with him, and fuck,
Entourage,
that's the one. That's the one. Uh,
right?
the his uh, publicist or whatever, his
Mm.
promoter basically, the guy
Mm-hmm.
that bought the UFC, apparently he was based off that guy. Yeah, like
Oh,
not
okay.
actually be him, but it's like they used him as a model. Like he was actually based off that guy, if I remember correctly, which I'm pretty sure I'm right. But yeah, if I remember correctly, that is yeah, that is a thing.
Ari, his
Yeah,
name is.
yeah, Ari Emanuel. Yeah, that yeah. If yeah, I
Wow,
remember my brother. I'm pretty sure he was telling me about it, which I thought was amusing. But yeah,
I
nah. I
heard about
mean,
that guy.
anything I can do to help out with that, man. Like it's not heaps, I guess, that I can do, but anything I can
Yeah,
ever do to help, I'm 100% there. I'm 100%, you know, down to help promote it in any way I can.
nice.
And if
Yeah,
there's anything you ever need for that, just sing out, brother.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk to you and stuff on your platform.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, I think it's kind of like the the passing of the cosmos, where there's going to be a lineup, an eclipse, all these things are going to happen,
Mm,
and it just can't be rushed.
mm,
So I think that's one thing that's missing in fighting
yeah,
is the patience.
yeah,
Look at a guy like Chuck Liddell, how you never see Chuck Liddell. Now, of course, he ended up getting punchy, but
mm,
if you watch his earlier fights, he was very patient
yeah,
and he waited for that perfect moment.
yeah,
And that's one thing that I don't like seeing, because it makes the sport look unrefined when a guy gets hurt or stumbles and the other guy just like runs after him, and it just looks so sloppy. But you're seeing it less and less, especially in the UFC, because like I was saying before, the guys are getting so good.
yeah,
But I think that's something that comes with experience, and you, because of the rules as they are, it's actually hard to get experience because the guys get so damaged
yeah,
even if they win.
yeah, yeah, very
But Chuck
true.
Liddell, he might have been able to be relaxed because he's was a party animal. Maybe
I
he
think
took it into the cage with him.
he's just got a certain mentality that most people will never have. But yeah, he was really good timing, really good footwork, his ability to read his opponent. Like, because
Mm.
when you see Chuck, he doesn't like move his head very well. Like, that's my
Mm.
one sort of criticism. Sort of like
Mm.
Lyoto Machida, you know. He never really moved his
Nice.
head either. But because his footwork is so good, and like for Chuck specifically, he's got very long arms and very pinpoint with his striking. So
Oh yeah.
he made it work in his own sort of way. But yeah, definitely one of the all-time greats, Chuck, and like probably one of, if not their first real big superstar.
Facts.
Um,
He's the hero to all the beer drinking NASCAR Americans,
yeah. Well, I mean,
right?
yeah. I mean, he's up on the wall
Shoot them
over there,
up.
but people can't see. But you've seen it. These gloves up on the
Nice.
wall over there. But
Oh,
yeah,
you got the shorts, right?
I got the Chuck Liddell. It's a signed glove. Yeah, I got.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the shorts I've got. They're Rocky, and then Van Damme, Bloodsport, and Kickboxer. I'm
Nice.
lucky my wife's pretty, she's pretty cool because a lot of other
Yeah.
women wouldn't like all this stuff, but I mean,
Well, you paid for it.
yeah, and I definitely put, a lot of this stuff was expensive,
Can
but
imagine.
um,
Worth it.
yeah. So, I thought we would move into, well, actually, before we do that, I have a question for you. If you were to take, like, back in the day when you were on the show and that, if you were to take Rich Franklin and Matt Hughes and they were to compete at 185, because I remember years ago there was talk of that,
Mm,
and I can't
really?
remember. Maybe it was because Rich lost or blah blah blah. I can't really remember, but I remember
Mm,
reading about it. If you
okay.
took them both then at that time, 2005,
Okay.
who do you reckon wins? Because I
Mhm.
reckon that'd be a good fight. Interesting, at least.
So let me ask you this as before I answer. Is Matt Hughes a 170 pounder who's moving up, or are you saying like if you take these two guys and you put them to be in the same weight class?
Well, I mean, yeah, Matt Hughes would have to move up. So same.
Because Rich
Sorry.
fought at 205.
Yeah, he was a big 185er.
He's definitely bigger than Matt Hughes. Um, and he kind of had a style I think would be like Matt Hughes' kryptonite.
I agree. I
You
agree.
know,
I think, yeah.
so Matt Hughes, I think Here's the way I look at it. He was like not to discredit anything he did. He was amazing wrestling, ground and pound, and good jiu-jitsu too. Striking, pretty bad. But at the time, it was like the in-between. So you had the beginning where there was style versus style.
Mm.
And then you have like the new age where everybody's good at everything, but they have specialties.
Mm.
Matt Hughes, he was kind of like that transitional period where you had guys that were learning everything,
Mm.
but like his stats were so low in the striking
Mm.
that I think Rich Frank would piece him up pretty bad,
I
especially
agree.
since he's bigger.
When
And I think I'm a little salty with Matt Hughes still, though, even though I feel bad what happened to him,
yeah,
because he gave me a concussion in training, and he really didn't have to.
when he was pissed off and something happened because I've watched the
Yeah,
show, but it's been a minute. I remember.
he was pissed off
Sorry, go on.
about what's his name? His number one pick, Mike Whitehead.
Yeah.
He had a staph infection, and he performed poorly against Rashad Evans.
Yeah.
And Matt Hughes was very pissed. So it was either that day or the day after. He, he kind of came at us with a vengeance, and I don't think he took it. He personally wanted to injure me. I think. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call here. Sorry about that.
No dramas.
Yo, I'm doing a podcast. You here? You could put it in phone call. Sorry about that.
No, that's right.
So he was either, I don't think he was like taking it out personally on me. I think he was just maybe like pissed off in general.
Yeah.
And we did this drill where the guy on top gets the boxing gloves. The guy on the bottom start from the guard position. The guy on the bottom had the MMA gloves. The guy on top, all he's doing is grounding pounding. The guy on the bottom, all he's doing is jiu-jitsu.
Mm.
So I have the most dominant welterweight of all time on top of me, Matt Hughes. He's in between fights, so he's not even at weight. He's probably 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And the dude is just wailing on. I'm just a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, James. I'm not even that good on the ground. I could survive, especially if the guy's my own size,
Yeah.
and we're fighting to the death.
Yeah.
Fighting for my life. So everything, I'm just gonna do it as hard as I can. And I fought a few black belts, and I was able to survive. But he made me cry
Mm.
from subconcussive impact. And all right, you know what? Maybe he just didn't know, but I'm salty because he never sparred stand up with me.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because he
So
knows
he got to
exactly
do
what's
what he
going to
wanted.
happen.
And he another thing he did was he got tapped out by Mark Lehman, who is the jiu-jitsu coach.
True.
Hang up behind the door.
You want some Rejuvelac?
Nah, because
All right,
I'm not gonna be able to finish it by tomorrow morning.
a little bit.
Uh,
Just asking.
That's alright.
Don't ever show your face around here again.
Alright, later.
Have a good trip.
Alright, thanks. Don't forget to hang on the door behind the door.
Thank you, bro. One of my students, I'm help consulting him on his nutrition as well.
Nice.
So yeah, Mark Lehman got Matt Hughes in a knee bar,
Yeah.
and Matt Hughes had to say, "Oh, if it was MMA, it would have been different." Like, all right,
Like-
maybe you're right, but come on, just
But
take
what's
the L,
your
bro.
point? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Look,
It was a grappling match, so what?
he's an all-timer, one of the greatest ever. And what happened to him, like you said, is very unfortunate. But the guy definitely come off like a bully.
Mm.
Like I remember reading it. I even read his autobiography like a long time ago. But
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, like he's been through a lot. I don't want to just sit and bash on the guy, but yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely come off like a bully. And I remember watching that. He was fucking going hard. Like, you know, he didn't look like he was pulling any punches on any of you guys on that when he was ground and pounding. He looked like he was pissed off and he was just taking it out on you guys.
Oh wow! So that made the show. I don't even remember.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, I remember seeing that.
Let me ask you: did you ever see, or do you know anybody who has the DVD?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got it.
You got to check out the bonus disc and see if my what is it? I want to say intake, but the interview in the hotel room to get on the show.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll have to.
Check see if that's in there. I think it's on a bonus disc. My friend was telling me.
Yeah, I've either got it here. I know that I've got a copy. I might have a copy here. If not, I've definitely got one in storage back in Adelaide. But what I'll do is I'll pick one up off eBay and I'll definitely check that out.
Oh well, it's probably expensive, but
Ah,
I was
but
just I
yeah,
was just curious. One of my friends has it, and it was funny because even back then, before I got certified as a specialty chef and all this natural healing, I was still a little, I was getting. It was like the beginning of that kind of like journey, and I wrote my speech out and everything. I practiced it because I really wanted to get on the show. I told him I was gonna wage holy war on my opponent sitting across the cage because I was fighting to teach people health or something. I don't remember what
like
it was, but it was just I think
you're
back.
cutting your own wrestling promo there, mate. By the sounds of it.
Yeah, definitely. You gotta work on that, especially these days with the social media. That's how you get attention.
Yeah.
And that's what I was kind of planning was to go on a tour and like challenge influencers, ex fighters, anybody, because under these rules, no head contact, no finishing,
Yeah.
and points,
Yeah.
I could spar somebody who either would actually kill me in a real fight, or I would actually kill them in a real fight, and neither one of us would get injured.
Yeah.
We could build up turn it into a viral event, and with the digital scoring system that I created, the fans, the viewers, all become involved as official scorekeepers.
Mm. It
So there's
definitely
a,
sounds
a
like fun.
slide bar. Yeah. Well, right now what I have is the MVP. It's called the minimum viable product.
Mm.
So because I paid some guy on Fiverr, basically there's a vertical format,
Yeah.
and one picture's on top of the other. But eventually I want to make it a sideways format where the fight's in the middle,
Yeah.
and then you have the two slide bars on each side.
Okay.
And as a scorekeeper, you're giving each fighter a score from 1 to 100.
Yeah.
So instead of, I don't know, people complaining about corrupt judge's decision or something,
Yeah.
you could blame it on popularity contest.
Ah, it sounds cool, man. I definitely look
Right?
forward to seeing it come to fruition.
And yeah, that's when you said the last time that you're hoping we meet one day. It kind of gave me a little juice
Yeah.
because this is martial arts all over the world. I'm like, dang, if I can make this happen, I could travel
Yeah. No, that'd be cool, man.
as a career, as a job. James, we could see each other once a year or something.
That'd be awesome, man.
All right,
100%. Yeah, definitely.
co-promote with me. We'll get you out of that dangerous job you got now.
That would be awesome, man. Like,
All right.
it's like I appreciate my bosses and like any venue can be dangerous. I don't really want to like just put, but just yeah, like I'm getting too old for
True.
that sort of shit, you know.
Right.
And I do 70 hours a week, so it's big hours, man. All night shift.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I have a pretty understanding wife, you know. That
Yes,
being
sir.
said, honey, come over here. Don't be shy, hon. Come here. You still look cute even if you're not dressed up. Come on,
Yes.
honey. Come here. Oh, she wants to do her hair first. But I mean, we've been together for 11 years, and you know, it's
Congrats.
just the best thing that I've ever managed to achieve was getting
Okay,
this
don't
one.
tell her that though.
What?
Don't
Let's
say
be
that out
honest.
loud.
The best thing she ever did as well was managing to get me.
Nice, nice.
But this is Rowena. You
Good
want to say
job, good
hello?
job. Hi. Nice to meet you.
But yeah, like,
You say
cause
Filipina?
she's a Filipina. Yeah, yeah,
One of my co-workers back at Longos is Eric San Jose. He's a Taekwondo and Shotokan master.
yeah.
So he he's Filipino, and all his family. I met them all, and he told me a bit about it. He took me out to eat at the Filipino restaurant, and
Yeah, nice.
he said if you go, if I go, he would set me up with one of his cousins.
Oh yeah, nice, nice.
How did you guys meet?
When I was over there like years ago now, and then it just
Okay.
we met and
You
just
you
organically
went.
went from yeah. I've been over there. I've been over there a few times since then. It's a beautiful place. You know, the people. It's like everywhere. Like not everyone's going to be going to be a stand up guy, but generally speaking, the people there are nice. They're happy to see you. You know, they see me.
Hmm.
Oh, Americano. You know, because everyone's American over there. Yeah,
Okay.
anyone that's white, they're Americano. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, like it can be dangerous because you are in a third world country, and like if you go to a mall there, you've got to go through a metal detector, and you have two armed guards with sworn-off shotguns. But
Wow.
overall, though, man, it's pretty good. Like as long as you've got your wits about you, it's a great place. Good people. I mean, I was
You
talking
ever eat
off.
balot?
Sorry.
Did you ever eat balot?
Yeah, once. Yeah, once, and never again. I knew I
Okay,
wasn't going to
so it
be
wasn't that
stoked
good.
about it, but I was just like, all right, I'll do it because then I've done it once and no one can ask me to do it again because I can say,
Okay.
oh, I've already done
Okay.
it. But
All
yes,
right.
yes, I did. It looked like a fucking like creature looking up. Well, I mean, it
Yeah.
is. That's exactly what it is. But
Yeah.
I got the sauce in there, right? And like,
Okay.
I was drinking the sauce because that's what they're like. Oh, you got to do it like this, and I'm like, so I just ended up chucking it in my mouth and crunching it down. It was all crunchy and that, and I was just like,
Mm.
bruh, never again. Once is enough.
Okay.
What about yourself?
Never. I wanted to,
Yeah,
and we couldn't find a place around here.
yeah.
Like even the Filipino restaurant didn't have it.
All the Filipinos though, when I'm like, nah, I'm good. You know, they're like, oh, you know, it'll make, you know, it'll stand up good. You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's all good, bro. Like that works fine for
Yeah.
now. You know, maybe when I get older, then I'll start eating them. But yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, nah. It's a good place, brother. So we'll
Nice.
transition over to a new topic. The
Okay.
whole thing going on with Jon Jones, because like you were talking
Mm.
about before, I mean, if you want
Hmm.
to call anyone the GOAT, he's definitely the guy. I mean, he's been around forever. I mean,
Right.
technically he has that loss against, why am I blanking on his name?
Still,
Yeah. But anyway,
they count that? Wow.
yeah. I mean, like, but he didn't lose. You know, he was smoking him, and then. But anyway, my point being is he's been in the UFC for pushing 15 years now. He hasn't lost. He has all these title defenses. So yeah, he'd be the GOAT. But this whole thing with
Can't argue.
the Tom Aspinall, like, is giving a lot of people a bad taste. Um,
Really?
well, I mean, you've got a guy who's already defended his interim title. He's the rightful guy, like, and you're just dicking him around. And at this point, the fans are becoming upset about it. Um, So hopefully he will either vacate, because at this point, if you ain't gonna fight him, just vacate it so the division can move on. But
Mm.
and then there's rumbles about Francis Ngannou saying that he's interested in
Mm.
coming back into the UFC. So
Mm.
things could possibly heat up pretty quickly. How would you see, say, a Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight going, in your opinion?
I'm not sold on Tom Aspinall, to be honest.
True.
I think he's big. He's fairly athletic, and he moves well for a big guy.
Yeah.
And decent grappling, good grappling. But he doesn't seem like a smart fighter. And I I don't think he would win many fights out of 100. I always usually use like a scale from 1 to 100 because, to say that Jon Jones will win every fight
No.
against him might be a stretch because, you have to respect the power of a heavyweight.
Mm.
His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. And, maybe Jon Jones is past, he's definitely past his prime, but maybe just like if you compare Gordon Ryan or the best grapplers today
Mm.
to the best grapplers of like Hoist Gracie's day,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not even close,
Yeah.
So maybe like the game passed him by, Jon Jones.
Mm.
But as far as like at their peak, I think Jon Jones wins like 9 out of 10 fights against Aspinall just because Aspinall doesn't have anything from what I've seen, and I haven't watched all of his fights.
Yeah.
So this is kind of an uneducated guess. Take it for what it's worth. I haven't seen anything special besides his um, athleticism for a heavyweight. He moves
Mm.
well for a heavyweight. But as far as strategy goes, that's one of Jon Jones's like best attributes. I
Mm.
mean, he's long,
Definitely.
he's strong, he's got everything up to 100, grappling 100, striking 100.
Yeah.
Um, and the guy that's going to beat him, he has to be just basically a younger version
Yeah.
of Jon Jones because Tom Aspinall, the other thing is, I think and this is gonna be a critique on an entire country, but I think where he comes from, people are so tough
Mm.
that they don't care about the body as a machine. It's
Mm.
like, oh, we'll we'll um we'll be eating bangers and mash and Guinness, and then it's fight camp time. It's time. He just looks like he's a fighter
Mm.
more than a martial artist.
Fair enough.
Does that make sense? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a good fighter,
Yeah.
but Jon Jones is a good martial artist.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
As far as the fight goes, I'm on Jon Jones' side, man. Especially with what we were saying about the contracts,
Mm.
and they screwed Francis Ngannou
Mm.
because he wanted a bigger chunk of what he was making for the company,
Yeah.
and they got all these, especially now with the overlords, as you said.
Yeah.
Every fighter has at the bottom of their sheet a number which relates to how much the UFC is going to make on one of their fights. Like McGregor, his number is very high.
Mm.
Even though he's not a great fighter, his pay-per-views are going to sell more, right? So Ngannou, he's a great fighter, but his marketability wasn't worth
Yeah.
what they thought they were going to make, what he wanted versus what they thought they would make from his fights. So
Yeah.
you can see it from both angles. Yeah, it's a business. Yeah, it's a human life.
Yeah.
Jon Jones, I'm sure he's making at least $1 million per fight,
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
and they're not itching to get him in there. And yet he's got a very high number at the bottom of his paper. His pay-per-views are going to sell.
Yeah. With
That's why they haven't cut him.
with the whole Jon Jones thing, is apparently when Jones pitched a number, they agreed to it. Obviously, I don't know, but that's what the rumor is. And that's why Dana was
Nice.
like, yeah, he agreed to the fight. And then he's kind of backtracking on that. And like, I could totally understand him coming out and going, look, he's a young, dangerous guy. I want to get paid. This is the number that I want. They haven't this or that. But when he sort of just undermines him and said, oh, he doesn't deserve it, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's very fair. You've got a guy who's obviously, whether he wins or not, he's the number one guy in line. He's defended the interim belt, which is in itself kind of ridiculous. Initially, when I first heard about that fight, I was just like, ooh, that's a bad fight for Jones, just because he's so young, he's so explosive, etc. And then over time, when I did think about it, like I had more time for it to permeate in the back of my mind a little bit. Yeah, I could definitely see Jones finding a way. He's one of them guys like we were talking about before, a strategist, and then just he finds a way, forces a fight in a particular area where he has the advantage. So I don't know what happened. That one's very hard. Usually I've got a pretty, like whether I'm right or wrong, I have an opinion on it. But that one, it's very hard. What about Francis Ngannou versus Jones? Because, like, geez, that's a that's a dangerous fight for Jones. Like.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I actually give. Oh fuck! Now I even forgot his name.
Tom Aspinall.
I'd give Aspinall a better shot at Jones than Ngannou.
True. You think?
Yeah,
that,
because Ngannou does very basic grappling.
Yeah.
Like it was enough against Stipe, but he's barely even a wrestler.
Yes. Yeah.
So Jones he's training with Gordon Ryan. He's got that wrestling background. That's what I would like to see in the Aspinall fight. I would like to see a really good grappler like Aspinall versus hopefully being able to test Jones a little bit, or not even just to test, but to like push him to the limits of his abilities. Because as a martial artist myself, or as a fan, I like to see the technicians. I like to see the moves. I'm tired of seeing the same moves over and over again. Not that I'm tired of it, but I like to see the different styles, the different fighters. Yeah. And so to me, it would be a shame if it ended up being like a slobber knocker or just like, a striking match. Yeah. Because
you don't want to see someone get caught and then just be that doesn't really give you an undisputed look at maybe who's the actual better martial artist. They just, I feel what you're saying. I really hope.
Sport.
I really hope
so much.
Yeah, I really hope they get this rolling though. I mean, like, just imagine hypothetically if Jones went through both them guys and then retired. I don't think you're gonna get a guy. I don't see someone in my lifetime coming along and having a better career than that. Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, that's something you'd see in a video game or something, like, that just doesn't happen like that. But that being said, right, because I've always been I've been a fan of Ngannou. Like, he's a good fighter and blah, 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 and, coming from humble beginnings, etc. But his fight with fucking Tyson Fury, like, that really made me a big fan because, in my opinion, I thought he won that fight. And, like...
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was, like a real Rocky Balboa fight, like a real Rocky Balboa moment. Because you got a guy in there, in his first fight, he has no business being in there with Fury. Like, even if Fury, come in out of shape, blah, blah, blah... didn't take him serious like Apollo Creed did with Rocky, and then comes in and he drops him, undefeated heavyweight boxing champion, in his first fight, arguably wins and gets robbed. I'm like, mate, like, that's like something straight out of a movie. You know what I mean? Like, what do you reckon? Did you see that fight?
Well, look, I can't really be a fan of boxing because of the damage, and then also I just not sure if anything's fixed fight anymore.
Yeah.
Boxing especially. But I tell you when I became a big fan, and I recorded it, I went back and it was his recent MMA fight, I think it was,
Oh, yeah, with the big
in
Brazilian.
PFL.
Yeah.
And he talked about his son, and
Yeah.
it made
That's
me really
fierce.
relate to him, as a human, as a person. And we're all just trying to make it in this world, and unfortunately or fortunately, some people get into fighting where they have to physically hurt another person.
Yeah.
They call it a business, they call it a job,
Yeah.
and he is very, very good at it,
Mm.
especially with the striking.
Yeah.
But to see him, in tears over his son and talking about how the training, because I can relate to that, the training
Yeah.
and the family issues. And it just made me see him in another light and definitely take his side against all these corporations, especially
Yeah.
the ones that are, running the show, so to speak. But I think he's too slow. Like he's a true heavyweight.
Yes.
I don't think he'd really be able to unload on Jones, and Jones wouldn't be stupid enough to put
No.
himself
He's not gonna
in
box
that
him.
position. Yeah,
Um.
he'll probably be shoot shoelaces.
Definitely.
Smart.
What do you reckon the chances of any of these fights happening?
Well, didn't you say they made Jones an offer? I could see him fighting Aspinall for sure.
Yeah.
Ngannou definitely not. He's not even in the UFC anymore.
No, but he
I de-
apparently he does want to go back though. But that doesn't mean they'll take him back. But
you're right.
yeah.
Yeah, I could see the Aspinall thing going on happening.
Yeah.
Um, what is it? What we just have 314, maybe
Three
three
16, I think it was. Yeah.
316. Okay, because they like. I was gonna say maybe like the next big number, 325, 333. I don't know. They're
Yeah.
probably waiting for some special venue. Maybe they'll fight in England or who
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think that's the next fight for Jones if he doesn't retire.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. Definitely.
He might be good. He got nothing to prove.
Definitely not.
Aspinall obviously, and I'm not saying it's wrong that he is, but he's obviously trying to make a name for himself
Yeah. Well,
through
by beating
Jones.
Jones
It's
is
like,
definitely he
yeah,
definitely does that.
yeah.
And with
He's.
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say he's not challenging like the up and comers, the best fighters in his division. He's going for the name.
True, but I mean at the same time Jones is holding the belt, so
Right.
you know what I mean. He has to go after him. He's the one with the belt. So if
Yeah.
if yeah, but fingers crossed they get something sorted. And for the UFC, it's a win-win because if Aspinall wins, they they really
Mm.
get to build off of Jones. And if
Mm.
Jones wins, hey, like they've just cemented their all-time GOAT, So it's a win-win for the UFC. So I could definitely see them being happy to pay him. But yeah,
Nice.
time will tell. But
For sure.
this has been a really
A
good
lot of good
episode,
fun.
man. Like I really appreciate your time and that, brother. Is there anything
Yeah.
you wanted to touch on before we kind of wrap this up?
I guess I'll just introduce the videos. I wasn't able to see the entire event, but from what I did see, I was able to piece together a decent workout. There's 5 videos, and um, for the Jon Jones question that you gave me, I used the sidekick, which is an underutilized, in my opinion, an underutilized technique for most guys in the UFC
Mm.
because it has like a connotation with karate, and people think that karate is, not really a viable martial art for real fighting, which they do have a point, and I did talk about it in my live
Mm.
video about how the sparring in karate is point, and they
Yeah.
stop
Yeah.
after you score. Whereas you can't depend on that in a fight. You have to be ready that if you hit the guy, he's going to hit you back.
Yes, definitely.
So boxing, and I was talking about footwork because karate and some of these traditional martial arts, they have something called the triangle step,
Yeah.
where you have one leg forward and then you take your other leg and you step all the way forward. So now your other leg is forward. But they don't do that in boxing or Muay Thai
Yeah.
because there's a moment where your back leg crosses past the front leg where you're not in your fighting stance. And it's like, I compared it to the Lord of the Rings, Smaug, the dragon, where he had one tiny hole,
Yeah.
but that ended up being his downfall.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something that I'm probably going to see for a while where guys, because it's such a kind of like a factory where new fighters are always coming. They always have to bring in new fighters because people get injured. They don't make it as far as they thought, and they go back into the workforce because it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So there's a high turnover rate, and the new blood, they're new, so
Mm.
you're going to see the same mistakes that you've been seeing. So I think it's going to be a while before we really see the level of skill that is comparable to other sports. Like you can see like elite Muay Thai striking
Mm.
in the UFC, elite grappling in the UFC, and you're starting to see it.
Mm.
But I think it will become more and more prevalent. Until then, I just try to keep it basic. I'm probably like one generation behind. I'm more like in the Matt Hughes generation where
Mm.
everybody knew everything, but guys were kind of like way
Still
more
had.
developed.
Yeah.
Like my coach Matt Serra, he was really good at jiu-jitsu, and his striking was not as good,
Mm.
But now you got guys who are really good at jiu-jitsu, like Tom Aspinall,
Mm.
and his striking is really good too. He can basically do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. We're in the
So
era of the real fully developed martial artists.
yeah, and then you're getting the scientific training.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty scary. But the other things I did in the video is tried to tie it into some of the questions that you had. So I had something about Jon Jones, had something about a couple of the fights, tied in the jab with Kamaru Usman,
Yeah.
and a little bit of conditioning in there
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah. I
I
liked
didn't
that.
have a training partner today.
That was like a row to overhead press with a kettlebell. I was like, oh, that I like that one. I might have to. I might use that one myself. That was cool. I
Nice.
liked that. Yeah. I
Yeah, I call it the
liked. I
cross
mean,
champion.
obviously, all the videos were dope, and there was great information in all of them. But
Thanks.
me having competed in weight training and that in the past,
Nice.
yeah, I was like, I like that one. I've never seen that before. That's cool.
Yeah, row, and then once it gets to here,
Yeah.
you know the Cuban press?
No, sorry, I don't. Yeah.
The Cuban press, they go, fuck, what is it? It's something where it's like you go here and here.
Yep.
I think
Okay.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
So from here to here, you got your row, and then you got your Cuban, and then I forgot the other one where you kind of lean off to the side and you press up.
Yeah.
For me, it's a little bit of aesthetics because I have small shoulders, so I'm always trying to like do
Mm.
lateral raises, but still keep it within the realm of functional fitness.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. There was a fight. I think the guy's last name is Rowe,
Yeah.
and he had his arm. The guy was already hurt. He was on his way out,
Mm.
but he basically had his arm on the guy's head, holding him up against the cage and just punching him with the other hand until the guy just basically fell down dead,
Yeah.
and the ref stopped it. So I put the cross champion this move in because you get your row is going to be good for your clinching when you're
Yeah.
hanging on somebody's neck, and then your press is good for your underhooks when you come up
Yes.
under when you try to get So it's kind of like a clinch. But I'm still working on that, because as I watch, and that's why I almost always record my sessions, because other sports like golf or baseball, they're recording you to see what you need to work on, like the
Yeah.
fine details.
Yeah.
So with this one, I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to incorporate the legs more. So when I come across, or when you come across,
Yeah.
you're going to do kind of like a split squat,
Yeah.
and then stand up with it
It
and make it a full body motion, then
it kind of
start to increase the weight and stuff.
have you ever seen the circus dumbbells in strongman? The really
With the
big,
balls on the end?
dumbbells that it reminded me of that,
Oh, yes.
but with
Exactly.
with a row component to it. Like, yeah, I was like, yeah, that's fucking dope. I like that one. But yeah, I
Thank you,
definitely have
James.
to. No, my pleasure, mate. Yeah, that's
Thank you for for what we're doing here. I think it's awesome.
yeah,
I was telling my brother, because I saw him today. He gave me all my computer stuff. He's a techie, and
nice.
he's like, "Oh, that's great. Finally somebody to work with.
Yeah,
On your end, you do a great job,
thank you, Luke.
and appreciate you. I appreciate your viewers. I want to definitely um, re to offer again.
Mm,
My 24/7 contact is on masterlukey.com if you have questions about the videos or what we talked about today, and or even if we didn't talk about today, nutrition, fitness, martial arts,
mm.
and whatever else. I try to be available, but I think you had some good questions in the show, and then also in the email you sent me. So I enjoyed talking to you, bro.
You too, brother.
Good times. Looking forward to the next time.
100%. We'll keep doing this, and
Do we
I really appreciate it.
do we have an event next week, or is it off?
Um, I think the next one is the Taporia and
Ooh,
Olives fight. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, indeed, that's a big
that's a
one.
tough one.
I think that's a couple of weeks out. Let's have a look.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
so
I'm
then
still down if we could figure something
definitely,
out
mate.
to do a show on next week.
I'll
Even though
definitely,
there's not a UFC event,
I'll definitely
there's
come up
always
with some
something going on,
ideas.
right?
100%.
All right,
And
bro.
thank you, Master Lukey. And like he said, reach out to him if you have any questions or any training or etc. He's the man. And at the end, make sure you stick around for the videos. I've watched them personally. There's some great information in there, so make sure you stick around to watch them. And that'll be another episode for the lads. And make sure you come back around for another Master Lukey's Monday. And Master Lukey, thanks again, brother. And
Cheers.
till next time.
Okay, James.
Thanks.
Bye, lads.
And today is June 15th. Chris Moutinho, footwork. Parentheses. He stepped with his back leg first. I probably can't show this. Look how he steps with his back leg first. Ready? Right before the last punch. Back leg, boom. See it? So the first thing is he goes like this. Boom, boom. Okay? He goes boom, boom, got knocked out. Okay? Small difference, small detail. But when you step forward, front leg goes first. Okay? So it's just something that you have to train into your muscles. All right? You can't be thinking in a fight. You just are only going to be reacting and performing the way that you trained. So we're going to start with the front leg, drag the back leg. Now I'm not going to come any closer than fighting stance. So I'm not going to come up to closer. I'm going to go open, even. Open, fighting stance. Long stance, fighting stance. Long stance, fighting stance. You can drag that back leg up. So I'm always in my stance. Okay? Same thing going backwards. Back leg first. Drag the front. In the fighting stance the whole time. Just think of Smaug. Switch stance. Smaug from Lord of the Rings. He had one weakness, and it was his downfall. Kick the soccer ball, bend the leg, and drop. Now I'm on my side, okay? So here's where we'll practice the Jon Jones, okay? And that's the side kick. So Jon Jones, he does the side kick to the front leg. It's best thrown at the front leg because the person can't catch it. It could go to the hip, it could go to the thigh, to the knee, and that it stops the person in their tracks without them being able to catch your leg. So for this drill, you could throw it either at the knee, the chest, or the face. When you do that, use the momentum of the kick to come to your elbow. Now that foot's going to go down, and you're going to post up on your hand and kick at the same time with the other leg at the shin or the knee. So you here, you did your side kick to come up to your elbow, all three at the same time, kick, and then put it back. 1, 8, 9, one more, 10, and up. Since we're using the jab in honor of Kamaru Usman, it's probably better that we're not using the heavy bag, and I'll tell you why. Most people, they're used to hitting something. Most people are used to hitting the pads, hitting the heavy bag. They never shadow box full power without hitting anything. Okay? If you're always hitting something, and if you watch when people connect with their punches on the heavy bag, they're not connecting here, full extension, they're connecting here. A lot of times the coach will even meet the pad, meet the glove, so the person's hitting like even here. So shadow boxing in this way, full power, full extension, full speed, is a good way to learn and get used to not hitting anything. There's no guarantee that you're going to hit something in a fight, right? And what you end up seeing is a lot of these guys swinging wild and missing. They're never used to going full power straight with good technique. Okay, last minute, any technique. Punches, kicks, knees, and elbows. Slide, cross hook, move and pivot, cross, elbow, pivot, knee, slide, cross hook, pivot, cross hook, cross, pivot, cross hook, cross, weave, jab, cross, pivot, cross, weave, jab, weave and pivot, cross hook, weave and slide, jab, cross hook, weave and pivot, cross, elbow, knee, pivot, slide, jab, cross, pivot, jab, cross, pivot, cross, hook, cross, pivot, cross, hook, weave and slide, hook, cross, pivot, cross, hook, cross, elbow, knee, elbow, pivot, knee, switch knee, elbow, pivot, knee. So the ranking system that I use for MMA is based on mythical beasts. The first mythical beast just teaches you the whole setup of how to keep track of your training. So these are all fitness exercises, but you can also use it. See here, I wrote a combo down: jab, slide, cross, weave, pivot, cross. I got this one from Gagnon Fairtex. on the Ultimate Fighter Season 2. We had a Muay Thai workout every day, and then at the end of every class, we do various exercises on the bags, like knees like this, and 2, and 3, and 4. Roundhouse kicks, elbows, skill building. We focus on the technique, build your power, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. You can see how I'm putting my hips into it. All right, so squeezing in. You want to keep your elbows on the bag. So what you do is extend out your hips and your shoulders, keeping your arms tight. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. As best you can, and that's so you don't get punched over your arms. You actually want to keep your head in tight, head to head, so they can't hit you. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. 8. Come on. 9. This one. 10. 1. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Come on. Come on. 9. One more. 10. That's 10. 1. 2. 3.